Hey everybody, my name is Richard Wilson, and today we're going to be talking about creating mock data to put in your Dataverse demos. And we're going to do that using Power Automate and Mockaroo. If you're not familiar with Mockaroo, it's been around for many years now. It's just a great way to generate fake data that you can use for a demo. It allows you to build schemas to kind of determine what kind of data you want, and then what I would do usually is download a CSV file or an Excel file from their site and go ahead and import in that into Dataverse. What I'm going to do differently this time, though, is I've actually created a custom connector for Power Automate, which we're going to connect up to the Mockaroo API. And that's going to allow us to actually generate all that data from a schema we've created on their site, pull all that into Power Automate, and then run that through and create all the records in Dataverse. There's some other tools out there for this too. If you're using XRM Toolbox, there is the Mockaroo Data Monger by Carl Cookson, if you want to go out and use that. That works great. I love it. One of the limitations I have on that is sometimes at the clients I'm working at, we don't have XRM Toolbox available. Or sometimes I want to grab data from multiple systems. So say I want to grab ServiceNow cases, and then I want to anonymize those by changing the names on all the tickets. If I use Flow or Power Automate, I can connect all those two data sources together, combine that data, and then add that to my Dataverse environment. One of the other great things about this is using Power Automate. It's a repeatable process. I can build up these demo scripts, run them, it'll go out and do all this, and I don't have to sit there and click through the import screens in Dataverse over and over and over again. So let's take a look at what this involves and let's get going. So the first thing we need to do is head over to the Mockaroo.com. Over here, you can take a look. We can see they have their pricing information. I usually just use the free one for the number of demos that I usually do. So you can see there's 1,000 rows per file and up to 200 API requests per day, which we're going to be using in our flow. So that's important to us. All you got to do is click sign in. Once you get here, you can use an existing account. Or if you don't want to use any of those, you can click sign up for free, and you can actually just use an email or password to create an account. Once you've created your account and signed in, the first thing we're going to do is create a schema. I'll just click on the schemas up here, click create a new one. And I'm actually just going to create the default that they've given me, which is going to work great for creating contacts within a Dataverse system. So I can see first, last, email. Kind of the general things that would have. I'll take out IP address and I'll take out gender. You can also see there's a number of rows. This will be the default number of rows that are typically generated. I'm going to turn this down a little bit, just set it to 500. You can set it to whatever you want. And within the Power Automate flow we're going to do later, you can actually specify this number in there too. So just go ahead and save this. I'm going to call it contacts. Click save. And the last thing we have to do on here is get our API key. So I'll click up here where the account area is, go to my account, and just click copy next to my API key. And there we go. We're all done on the Mockaroo site. Next, we're going to take a look at actually importing the custom connector. There's a couple different ways to add custom connectors. The way I'm going to show you today is how to import one from an OpenAPI file. If you go to my GitHub site, I have two different APIs here right now. I'm going to be adding more. Right now, we're looking for the Mockaroo one. So if you come down here, I've actually created direct links to the open APIs that you'll need. So you can just right click on here, go to copy link address. Then we'll go into our Maker portal. So let's head over to the Maker portal. We'll go down into the data section. We'll expand that out. Click on custom connectors. Now up here in the upper right, we can see there's a new custom connectors button. Click there. We'll say import an OpenAPI file from a URL. I'm going to call this Mockaroo. And I'll paste in that URL. Click import and click continue. There's nothing else you really have to do here. You can change the icon. You can change the name to whatever you want. But really, this thing is ready to go. So I'm just going to click the little checkbox for create connector. And that's it. We're all done with the connector portion. Next, we're going to be taking a look at how to use this within a flow to create records. Let's now create our flow and use our custom connector to bring data into the context table of our Dataverse environment. So to do that, we'll come to the flows area of the Maker portal. I'll click on the new flow button, choose Instant Cloud Flow. We're going to call this generate contacts, and I'll manually trigger it. Click create. Now that we have our flow, I'll click on new step to add our custom action. So I'll click on custom here under this tab. Click on Mockaroo. There's only one action within here, which is generate data. I'll click on there. Now I have to create my initial connection. So this is going to be the API key that you copied earlier from the Mockaroo site. So I'm just going to call this raw Mockaroo for my connection. I'll paste in my API key that I got earlier, click create. And once our connection's created, now we can go ahead and say what schema we want to generate. And if you remember, I created one called contacts. So we're going to use that. In this record count field, if you don't specify something, it'll use that default that you had set when you created the schema in Mockaroo. Otherwise, you can set it to whatever you want here. So I'm going to set it to 25 here, just so we're not creating 500 records. The next thing we do is actually iterate over what's returned from this generate data action. It's always going to be return as an array with JSON inside of it. So the nice thing about that is I can click on add new step, click on control, and say apply to each, and I'll be able to loop over each one of the records. I'll select the output from our generate data action. I'm going to choose the body. And now I'm going to click on add an action. This is where we're going to actually add the records to Dataverse. So from here, I'll choose my Microsoft Dataverse area, and I'm going to say add a new row. I'll select the contacts table, since that's what we're looking to fill. And for now, I'm just going to do the first name and last name. So we'll come down here, and we'll go to the first name, and I'm going to go down and say I'm going to create an expression. And I'm just going to do my items, and we'll say apply to each. And we'll do, this is going to be returned in our schema that we created. It's going to be called first underscore name. So we'll just pop that in there. I'm going to copy this so I can do this for last name too. There's our first name. We'll go to last name, click on expression, and I'm just going to change this to last name and click OK. So now we have added an action to generate all the data from that context schema we created in Mockaroo. It's going to bring all that back as JSON. We're going to loop through all of that and create all these records. So let's give it a shot. Click on save. Once that saves, I'll click test. And we'll just do a quick manual test here. Load this. We'll run the flow. And as you can see, the flow is running. We've generated our data. If we take a look at the outputs, you'll actually see here's all the contacts that came back from Mockaroo. And right now it's going through the loop and creating all those records. And there we go, 17 seconds. I've created 25 records in my system. That was super fast. I can go ahead and take a look at that data. If I click over here and go to the data area, I'll go to tables. And we can look at this over here. We'll go to contacts. Click on contacts. And now we can go look at the data tab. There you go. You can see all the contacts we created. Super simple. Again, if you're setting up a brand new system or you're just trying to create some anonymized data in a system, this can be a really fast way that you can do it. And if I didn't mention earlier, Mockaroo is free if you're not using it too much too. So that's another great benefit. So hopefully this has helped you kind of figure out how to create some test data, some mock data. And again, hopefully you can keep extending this and taking it further. Thanks a lot.